Yo, Lloyd Roll aka Mega Blitz. In today's video, we're going to be looking at a very particular card coming out of the Stellar Crown set. And that card is going to be Medicham EX. And when first reading this card, my first thought was it plays very similar to Serena EX, being able to take your opponent's HP down to a certain amount and then being able to finish it off with maybe a different attack or maybe moving some damage counters or things of that nature. And when playing this deck, I really cooked up a very interesting 60 list here and played it on the ranked ladder and ended up having a really great run, beating many competitive decks, things like Miraidon, Regidrago V-Star, Charizard, Lugia, and things like that. But a lot of my wins actually came from my opponent just conceding because I locked them out of the game entirely. And I'm really excited to showcase this deck. So let's get right in to that deck list. Alrighty, here at that deck list, starting us off with Medicham EX. With that first attack, Chi-Atsu for double colorless energy. Put damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon until its remaining HP is 50. So no matter what our opponent's active Pokemon's HP is, so if it's a Charizard with that Hero's Cape at a huge 430 hit points, won't matter. Bring it down to 50, and then we can follow that up potentially with a Yoga Kick for 1 fighting energy, go colorless, 190 damage. This attack's damage isn't affected by weakness or resistance, so always hitting for 190, unless we have DTE attached, of course. Being able to take a knockout on something we Chi-Atsu the turn before, or being able to like pull up or just have like a Squawkabilly in play or a Luminion or maybe even a Mew EX as well. Being able to take knockouts on that can be very helpful. And then, of course, we have another Medicham in the deck that I do really want to talk about, and it has an attack called Acupuncture for 1 fighting energy, 30 damage. Choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks. During your opponent's next turn, that Pokemon can't use that attack. And with a lot of decks in our current format, a lot of the attackers in those decks only have one attack they really want to be using. Things like Charizard EX with Burning Darkness, Chien-Pao with Hailblade, Goldenga with Make It Rain, Miraidon with Photon Blaster, Sableye with Lost Mine, Cramorant with Spin Innocently. All the Radiant Pokemon only have one attack they can use. The list goes on and on. So Acupuncture really being able to potentially lock our opponent entirely out of the game with that attack. Now, I know what you're thinking with that 30 HP or that 30 damage. Eventually, we're gonna take a knockout on the active Pokemon, and we will. However, we are playing a copy of Radiant Alakazam in the deck for its ability Painful Spoons. Once in your turn, you may move up to 2 damage counters from one of your opponent's Pokemon to another one of their Pokemon. So we're trying to basically move the 2 damage counters off of the active of the 30, just leaving 10 on and moving it to something else. So it will stay alive a little bit longer so we can potentially lock them out of the game longer. Also, some of the other key things that I want to point out in the deck here. We are playing 2 copies, of course, as Tenacity. Search your deck for a Stadium and an Energy card, reveal them, so we can find ourselves our double turbo energies to put on our Medicham EX and our Pokemon League headquarters as well. Attacks used by each basic Pokemon in play, both yours and your opponent's, cost 1 more. Very helpful into decks like Miraidon, Goldengo, Lost Box decks. A lot of the Radiant Pokemon are basic. Actually, all of them are basic. So Radiant Charizard needs an extra energy. Radiant Greninja needs an extra energy. Really being able to disrupt our opponent a little bit more. Even early game, sometimes you need to read the wind as a Lugia player, and you need an extra energy to do that with this Pokemon League headquarters, which can be very helpful. And I also want to point out, I am playing Hyper Aroma as my ace spec of choice. Originally, it was Unfair Stamp. However, I really wanted to focus on consistency for this deck. So Hyper Aroma quickly became my ace spec of choice. Being able to search my deck up to 3 Stage 1 Pokemon, reveal them, put them in my hand, so I can hopefully evolve into them very quickly, which is where the Arven and TM Evo came in as well. So we can evolve our Bidoofs into Bibarels and our Meditites into Medichams very quickly. I'm also playing 4 copies of Crushing Hammer for some extra disruption to try to remove some energy, and 4 copies of Gutsy Pickaxe. Reveal the top card of your deck if that card is a fighting energy attached to one of your bench Pokemon, so able to accelerate some energy potentially to our Meditites and Medichams on the bench. And if that card is not a fighting energy card, you just get to put it into your hand. So very similar to Trekking Shoes, but more catered towards fighting type Pokemon, so we can kind of put the energy onto that Pokemon. And something I really do want to point out as well, in our gameplay footage, you're going to see a Munkidori and a Darkness Energy. And originally, the plan was my Medicham EX would be able to take a hit, and then we would be able to move some damage counters with the Adrenabrain from Munkidori and that Dark Energy off of the Medicham, followed up with a Yoga Kick, and then take a knockout on things like Teal Mask Ogerpon, maybe like Miraidons or Raikus and things like that. But ultimately, every time I realized they would go to attack my Medicham EX, it would just get one shot anyway, or pretty close to. So it felt like just removing the Dark Energy for a Fighting Energy and the Munkidori for Radiant Alakazam just felt like a better choice. So in the gameplay footage, you're going to see that Munkidori and that Dark Energy. However, in the description below, this is the list you're going to see, and this is the list that I would be playing going forward, and that I am playing going forward. So now, let's jump right in to that gameplay. All right, here at that gameplay, we're going to be going first in this first gameplay clip we have here. Unfortunately, we're going to have to mulligan our first hand away, which is not ideal here, but unfortunately also for our opponent, they don't really know what we're playing, so kind of works out in our favor anyway. So we're going to have a Meditite here in the active spot, double Buddy-Buddy Poffin, to be able to really just fill up our bench here, and then going to be able to just kind of grab some Pokemon and get stuff rolling here. That Bidoof and the Meditite going to go down on the bench. Another Buddy-Buddy Poffin for that Skwovet and that Meditite as well. We're going to be able to attach a double turbo to our active Meditite. We're going to be able to Nest Ball for that Fezandipiti EX here. So if they end up KOing our active Meditite, we can at least use Flip the Script from our Fezandipiti EX. Now, our opponent going to have Terapagos EX in the active spot. Another one on the bench, a Hoothoot on the bench. Iono put us both to 6 here. And then our opponent really going to be able to kind of go full steam, get that Fan Rotom, the Area 0 Under Depths to be able to expand their bench. Fan Rotom going to use that Fan Call ability to search out 3 Pokemon. Going to get a Duskull on the bench, a Pidgey on the bench, a Hoothoot, Nest Ball to find a Duskull to put on the bench as well. They're going to pass back to us here. Then we're going to be able to evolve our Bidoof into Bibarel, use the Capturing Aroma, and then we're going to be able to hit heads on that Capturing Aroma to grab ourselves Medicham EX here. So it'll evolve our active Meditite into Medicham. Then we're going to be able to use that Colress's Tenacity as well to find ourselves a Pokemon League headquarters and that fighting energy that we need here. So we're going to grab both those cards, and our opponent is actually going to end up conceding to us, realizing that they're not going to be able to come back from this game. I'm going to be able to lock them out of the game with the Pokemon League headquarters. I'm going to be able to start taking prizes very quickly with the Yoga Kick and the Chiatsu coming. So our opponent just realizing that they're at wit's end here and cannot come back. Now heading into our second gameplay clip here, we're going to flip the coin, get a tails. We're going to elect to go first. And a lot of the times with the deck, you do want to go first so you can hopefully evolve, use the Hyper Aroma to evolve your stuff and attack as well. The Arven and the Technical Machine Evolution is really only in the deck to be able to kind of help things evolve when you're going second, so you can actually attack and then evolve some things on your bench. Unfortunately, we're going to have to mulligan here on our first hand, but our second one's pretty solid. Got a Meditite, a Bidoof, Fezandipiti EX, Medicham EX, got the Gutsy Pickaxe, Hyper Aroma, and a Fighting Energy. Our opponent going to start off with Lumineon V in the active spot, unfortunately for them here, but we're in a position where we don't really know what they're playing. They have not a clue what's going on our side of the field either. So we're kind of both at a similar position here. We're going to bench the Bidoof, bench the Fezandipiti EX, Gutsy Pickaxe here. Just going to be able to draw into a card. We're going to attach the Double Turbo Energy of the Meditite, pass to our opponent here. Our opponent going to attach a Double Turbo Energy to the Lumineon, Capturing Aroma here. Going to hit tails on that Capturing Aroma, and they're going to grab this up that Lugia V. So our opponent is on that Lugia V start here. Mesagoza for our opponent. Flip a coin. If heads, you get any Pokemon, but they hit tails, unfortunately. So they're going to end up just passing back to us here, and we're going to draw for turn, get an Ultra Ball. But the first thing we're going to do on our turn is also flip that Mesagoza and try to get heads to get a free Pokemon. But we get tails because Mesagoza is not a real card. Not actually. Mesagoza is a great card. But we're going to hit tails on that, unfortunately, here. Evolve our Meditite into Medicham. Attach the Fighting Energy here. Arven going to be able to grab a couple things out of our deck here. We're going to grab the Technical Machine Evolution, of course. It's the only tool we can grab out of the deck. So grab that TM Evo to just thin a little bit. We don't really need to use the Technical Machine Evolution, but just grabbing it and thinning the deck can be very helpful here. And we're going to grab that Capturing Aroma. And the reason I grab Capturing Aroma is I don't really want to discard my Hyper Aroma with the Ultra Ball in my hand. Now, I could have just grabbed any other random card and then discard it with the Ultra Ball, but Capturing Aroma, if I hit tails, I can just grab any Pokemon and then discard with Ultra Ball anyway. So we had a very similar kind of out, but Ultra Ball, we're going to end up ultimately discarding the Hyper Aroma anyway. Didn't really want to do that, but with kind of the order of process is what ended up happening. So we're going to get Pokemon League headquarters and a couple other things off the Industrious Incisors. Nest Ball going to bench a Meditite Crushing Hammer, which could have actually held on to this Crushing Hammer, but we're going to discard that Double Turbo, play the Pokemon League headquarters, Yoga Kick for 170 to take 2 prizes on our opponent's Lumineon V here. Our opponent got to promote that Lugia V. So we're at a 4-6 split here. Now, our opponent really needs to be able to get some Archeops in the discard pile, evolve Lugia V into Lugia V-Star, because they run the risk of me being able to two-shot the Lugia V, and even if they evolve it into Lugia V-Star, I can still two-shot it with that Yoga Kick, hitting for 170 damage 2 times, adding up to 340. So, being able to put our opponent into a position where they can't read the wind now because of Pokemon League headquarters, and they're in a threat of me two-shotting their Lugia V, or if they evolve it, Lugia V-Star. So, Ultra Ball gonna go down, they're gonna grab another Lugia, or another Archeops, sorry, here, and they're gonna not be able to read the wind because of Pokemon League headquarters, pass back to us, and we're gonna try to flip a Crushing Hammer. We're gonna attach the Double Turbo Energy first to the Meditite here. Then we're going to play that Crushing Hammer, try to discard that Jet Energy. We hit tails, unfortunately, though. So then we're going to Ultra Ball, discarding both those Double Turbo and a couple other things out of our hands here. Getting the other Medicham to evolve into the Meditite without the DTE attached. We're going to Buddy-Buddy Poffin here, grab ourselves that Skwovet so we can have that Nest Dash Industrious Incisors combo. Colress Tenacity, grab another Pokemon League headquarters and a Fighting Energy. The reason I grab the Pokemon League headquarters because if they end up being able to Tempest Dive or Arrow Dive or have another stadium to remove Pokemon League headquarters, I can just play another one, which can be very helpful. So we're going to Yoga Kick for 170 to our opponent's Lugia V here, putting them in a position where I threaten to two-shot their Lugia V or their Lugia V-Star. They're going to play a Mesagoza, hit tails on that Mesagoza, unfortunately, and our opponent's just going to concede. Even if they would have ended up evolving the Lugia V into Lugia V-Star, they can Tempest Dive for 220 at most. Medicham EX lives, and then we Yoga Kick again, taking another 2 prizes, putting us at a 2-6 split. So really just pushing ourselves ahead of that game. Pokemon League headquarters, slowing down the Read the Wind, being able to Yoga Kick twice and two-shot our opponent's Pokemon, really putting on early pressure, and we even have the Medicham in the back with that Acupuncture attack as well to potentially lock our opponent out of the game. With them having Lugia V-Star, we can just say, hey, you can't use Tempest Dive, sorry. So now let's jump right in to that outro. Alrighty, it's good for today's video. If you guys enjoy the content I've been making stuff for you on the channel, don't forget to leave a like, smash the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. And while you're down there smashing that subscribe button, I'll make sure to have the deck list in the description below, ready for copy paste for Pokemon TCG Live. Now, I'll see you all in the next one. Peace!